The MENA operation, it's already in jeopardy, but it becomes a major problem when one of SEAL's former planes is shot down by Sandinistas later on in 1986. The only survivor of the crash is a man named Eugene Hassenfuss, and he claims he is running cocaine for the CIA. The plane can be tracked back to MENA. So for the time being, the MENA operation is close to being exposed. It is suspected that SEAL traffics in nearly $5 billion worth of cocaine in this 5-year period. So SEAL is virtually untouchable for this period. Even though the FBI and the DEA have all opened up investigations into his operation, he remains a contract agent with the CIA. But with overwhelming evidence of drug trafficking mounting against him, he finally turned states in 1985. He testifies in several trials against Medellin traffickers. And this compromises the entire CIA operation. I mean, Barry Seal isn't only running drugs for the cartel, he's also involved in the drugs for arms trade in Nicaragua. The DEA even places him in a sting to photograph Contras loading cocaine onto an airplane in Nicaragua. And this pisses the CIA off, but good! Seal's next mission is to trick Pablo Escobar and the Ochoa brothers into coming to a neutral third-party country where they will be extradited. I mean, he's about to take down the entire Medellin cartel. But then news of Seal's cooperation with the DEA became leaked to the national media. He has to be called back in midair from his task to meet with the Ochoa brothers and Pablo Escobar. And who is responsible for this press leak? Admittedly, it is none other than Oliver North, the primary figurehead in the Iran-Contra scandal. Barry Seal is later gunned down in Baton Rouge, assassinated by the Medellin cartel. It is rumored that on his dead body is the personal private phone number of George H.W. Bush.
Well, at least I wouldn't be from George Bush and the CIA dealing in drugs, right, folks?
Unbelievable.
Right? Yeah, George Bush and the CIA dealing in drugs.
While we look at where George H.W. Bush was and what he was doing in 1984. According to Wikipedia, in 1984, U.S. officials began receiving reports that the CIA's Nicaraguan Contras, supervised by George Bush Sr., were involved in cocaine trafficking. 3 officials told journalists that they considered these reports reliable. George Bush was not in the middle of drug trafficking by Nicaraguan Contras. He was at the very top, in charge of the whole thing.
Soledad Castillo worked on the front lines in the U.S. war against drugs.
I remember down in Central America, we were refueling planes full of cocaine coming into the U.S., and it was a CIA operation being run by the White House. George Bush Sr. came to Guatemala on January 13, 1986, and he approached me and asked me what I did there at the U.S. Embassy, what my job description was, and I told him I was a DEA agent working international narcotics investigations, and I told him, look, you know, we have gathered intelligence that the Contras are involved in drug trafficking down in El Salvador. And then he just smiled, shook my hand, and walked away from me. And it was then and there that I knew that my government knew that these atrocities were occurring.
Even Robert Bonner, the head of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, agreed.
We understand what you're saying. A ton of cocaine was smuggled into the United States of America.
Well,
in cooperation with the CIA?
That's exactly what appears to have happened.
In 1984, Bush's cocaine trade is booming so loud that U.S. officials, foreign governments, and journalists are all starting to engage in very dangerous talk about it. Panama was then, as it is today, the center of Bush's cocaine money laundering operations. Today, Panama is still identified by the U.S. State Department and the Drug Enforcement Agency as a primary repository and conduit for Colombian and Mexican narco-trafficking cartels.